But we begin tonight with Boeing and these reports that the aerospace giant will temporarily halt production of its 737 MAX jetliner in January. This is the first production halt during the plane's 20-year history of development, something that few saw coming when the troubled jet was first grounded last March. And that late news sent the stock lower in initial after-hours trading tonight. Phil LeBeau is covering the story for us as always. Phil, what are the details of the halt and how big is this a deal for Boeing?
Well, it's a huge deal, Bill. And what you're looking at here is a suspension of 737 MAX production starting in January, likely lasting 45 to 60 days. And I say likely because Boeing is not putting a time frame in terms of when it plans to resume production. That will be determined by whether or not the FAA lifts the grounding of the 737 MAX, recertifies the plane, let's say by late January, early February. If that happens, then you could see them start up production again, maybe in mid-February or the end of February. But again, it all depends on when the FAA says the MAX is good to go. That will be the trigger that says, okay, let's resume production again.
Now, what happens to the workers that are on that project? Are we expecting layoffs?
No. Boeing says that they are not going to furlough approximately 12,000 workers who are at the plant that builds the MAX in Renton, Washington. Some of them will be redeployed to work in Everett, where they build other Boeing commercial airplanes. Some will be working on other projects within the company, and there's still work that's going to be taking place at the Everett plant. But it's key that Boeing is saying, we will continue paying these workers, because that was the big concern, that you would have furloughed workers and then you start to potentially lose some of that skilled labor that's going to be crucial for when they ramp up production at some point in 2020.
But what about its suppliers? Are we going to see a ripple effect there?
Potentially. Now, Boeing says it will be working with its suppliers to ensure that they are not seeing their production lines disrupted. But look at a company like Spirit Aerosystems in Wichita, Kansas. They build the fuselages for the 737 MAX. They have not lowered their production, even though Boeing lowered production overall for the final finished airplane. So they've got these fuselages, about 100 of them, that have been built that are in storage. Will they continue to build at that rate? That remains to be seen. And then if they have to bring down their production, how will those workers be compensated? Will they do the same thing as Boeing? Will they pay them or will they furlough them? These are all the details that will have to be sorted out over the next several weeks.
For investors who hold the stock, what about the company's dividend and its CEO?
Right. Well, the good news is that the dividend is not changing. It still is $2.05 a share. They just announced that this afternoon. Boeing has never reduced its dividend, or I shouldn't say never. You've got to go back to 1937, the last time that they reduced their dividend. It's always been at least the same as it is right now, or it's increased. In terms of Dennis Muhlenberg, no word from the company that he is potentially leaving the company, but clearly he's under a lot of pressure. Production halt, this is unprecedented, guys.
Indeed. Phil LeBeau, as always, great job. Thanks.
You bet.